Good. A very, very good morning, bright and early, coming live to you from my beautiful city, Gaborone, and with a special guest who has flown all the way from Chicago to come and save Africa.
No.
But he has a magic pill. So this is Miss Kim from Destination Imagination, but obviously joining you from Africa STEM Queen podcast. And this is a special edition. Hold on tight, listen up, take a pen and a paper. Our guests will share information that you want to know. We've had these conversations for so long, it's about time we change the narrative. And we know that we can. So I'm not going to steal his voice. I'll just give him the mic to introduce himself and tell us where he is coming from, why Africa, and what solutions he has for this great continent. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. My name is Emmanuel Jackson. I am from a company called Evston Technology Partners out of Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. I am currently in Cape Town, South Africa. My partner and I, we came in and we visited the southern region of Africa. That included, we flew into Johannesburg, and from Johannesburg to Durban, Durban to Harare, Zimbabwe, from Harare to Gaborone, Botswana, and now to Cape Town. And this afternoon, we're heading back to Johannesburg. And on Sunday, we'll head back to Chicago. So it's a real pleasure for me to be here with you guys this morning. My company is called Evston Technology Partners. That's EVANSTON Technology Partners. And the website is evstontech.com. That's www.evanstontech.com. There is no H at the end of that tech. So basically, we came to South Africa region on a vacation. And but as I was getting ready to leave, one of the things that happened, a member of my cohort at the University of Chicago said, if you're going to Botswana, you need to see this video. And the video was a video of the Botswana Digital and Innovation Hub in Gaborone. And I saw it. The next day, I sent a letter to the interim CEO. The next morning, before I can wake up, I received an acknowledgement that he had received it. And yes, they wanted to meet with me. And the reason that is that I was excited by seeing some things I had never seen before, and some actions in the size of the facility. And it reminded me somewhat of Wakanda. Well, I work in the cybersecurity and the AI and the cloud realm. So we do what we consider everything data. And in the last 60 days, like the last 2.5 years, AI has changed a huge portion of what the world does, how it does it, when it does it, and who it does it with. And, just in outside of this region with Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, the UAE has an initiative to build a budget of $200 billion to build out their AI platform. What I did notice is that they have no people to actually do it. And what I believe it is a terrific opportunity for Africa. Not to offend any other people from countries there, but my research showed me, because of its stability, that Botswana should be the central location for where it is to start before spreading it throughout Africa. And the Innovation Hub had a great deal to do with that as well. And so as we looked at it and looked at what could possibly be done, I came in, I met with the people here, and my assumption is still seemed to be right. But clearly, I named it transitioning from diamond mines to diamond mines. And that meant that the country of Botswana should take advantage of the investments that it's made over the past few decades to educate their population. And so what I had noticed throughout the population throughout southern region of Africa, you had people who had pretty good technology skills, But what they didn't have were the proprietary certifications like the AWS Cloud Practitioner, the AWS Solutions Architect, security. And the same thing with Microsoft Azure and Google's cloud platform as well. And so my initial goal here is to work with the people in the government of Botswana, is to create 10,000 of these jobs that we feel that could give them certification, give them a standard that is higher for the technology than just low pay, but also a level of skill, create individuals who will be certified in all cybersecurity, data cleaning, AI, and cloud. One person will have all those certifications. It's a program that is scheduled for 9 months, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and will include a stipend. But I've made that introduction, so let me stop there and see if there's any questions.
And your visit is so timely. And I think thanks God to Jill Scott. And thanks God to our creativity naturally. We love to act. You've seen our energy, our vibe. And truly, yes, Africa is a place to be. Now, Mr. Jackson, we have so many people who believe Africa is still catching up technologically. What threats or data are you seeing that challenge this perception and truly show that Africa is actually positioned to lead in the digital economy? What have you seen? What has really inspired you to look into this continent?
Well, I can tell you that, let's be clear, is that the whole world is catching up. Major corporations are catching up. Um, in a sense is when you look at generative AI, it's been 2.5 years now. And that's for generative AI. We've had machine learning, we've had AI. If you have Google, if you have Siri, if you have Alexa, you have AI. And so you have dealt with having those things that you have worked with. I think what is clear here is to me, it's not the use of AI or the adoption of AI that is the critical thing for Africa. The question is that how do you participate in the building of AI? In that, as you do it, the building of AI, is that the talents and the skills of Africa is not exploited. You know, we've seen this show on 60 Minutes in America, where basically it showed that in Kenya, a great deal of the annotations and the work that has been done in AI is being done in AI for open AI and other companies. And the salaries that they are trying to pay college graduates was simply very exploitative. And so what we want to do is to be able to have that dealt with. The other thing is, I think it's important, is that to note that from my experience, and I use an assessment process called My Inner Genius, where I work to determine the qualifications for people for certain training. And I've done this all over the world, and no one has had a higher pass rate than people on the continent of Africa. And to give you an idea, I've done a couple in Kenya, I've done a few in Ghana, I've done some in Botswana and in South Africa. But I can tell you, and I want to make it clear, that Harare, Zimbabwe is usually a massive amount of people who have done extremely well in the samplings that we've done here. But overall, the continent of Africa has done extremely well in that process. So in a sense is that I'm very keen on and am very motivated to work with the continent of Africa.
Thank you. That is so exciting to hear. So we got what it takes. Now, Mr. Jackson, I'd like you to walk us through the Diamond Minds journey from application to training to job placement, and tell us exactly what can a young person expect at each stage? What kind of support systems are built in so that we
Yeah.
get to understand? Because this is like truly insane.
Yeah. So let
Like
me
I don't
say,
know if it happens. You
yeah.
get training and get a job. Mhm.
So let me say this is that what the concept from diamond mines to diamond mines is that, like most African countries, Botswana has natural resources that support the country. That some people say there should be music and slang and things that says that diamonds last forever. Diamonds don't last forever. And so if you're in the Middle East and you're in Saudi Arabia, UAE, or anyone else, they figured out that oil doesn't last forever either. So all of these countries are making efforts to diversify their economy. And since we're living in an intellectually based economy, it's important that you move in that area. So Diamond Mines is a national initiative. It is not just for individuals. And so what does that mean? Is that we look at what I consider to be major groupings, and those groupings will allow, let's say in Botswana, or let's say even as individuals, is that you will start off with the assessment process. The assessment process I mentioned is My Inner Genius. And then let's say everyone is approved. So that's how I like to say everybody gets approved. And you go from that process and we start training. And the training is for 9.5 months. And we choose all of these things like cybersecurity, AI, data cleaning, and cloud, because all of these things now intersect. So which means is that if a corporation or country has a initiative to go into use AI, AI has to reside somewhere. The place where it is generally going to reside is going to be in the cloud. And so, but in order to go into the cloud, the very data that they're trying to use for AI or to even put in the cloud needs to have some data hygiene. The data needs to be clean because nothing has changed in technology since the day we've started. And that means garbage in, garbage out. And that's a very important factor to make sure that it's clean. And so, but also when you go through that process in either it's data in transition and data that is sitting, it all needs to be secured. So our goal is to start people off in one sector. You meet up after a certain amount of time, maybe 3 months, as we do all of those things and they come together. And part of what we do, besides live teachers, people on the ground where you are, online, there'll always be a live person, but also what we've created are AI agents to help with the training. I can give you an example of an AI agent for cybersecurity. And that AI agent for cybersecurity allows you to have a natural cybersecurity range, which is on your mobile device or on a tablet. And you have access to that particular device, which gives you an actual simulation for things like a enterprise level cyber destruction, recovery, and forensics. So you get the opportunity to work within those things. The key is for this process to me is I never wanted to take on a project that when done successfully, the individual has done everything that they were supposed to do, is that there is a job at the end of that particular training. And that is when you go out and you secure contracts with foreign governments, companies, and things like that. So for instance, give you an idea. Right now, there are 5 million job openings for cybersecurity throughout the world. The United States has 700,000 of those. And people think, well, the United States number is low. Of course, the United States number is low. The United States only represents 4.1% of the world's population. So most of the opportunity in the world is from outside of the United States, but the whole world has a problem. China needs 1.5 million cybersecurity people. I read an article recently where Kenya is having a problem with cybersecurity experts for their finance and banking industry. So that's a whole thing. But the other thing is important is that the cybersecurity is essential to the sovereignty of any nation in the world. So that counts a lot for actually this. So, you'll be taken through the process of cybersecurity. Let's take cloud, for instance. The foundational course for AWS Cloud is AWS Cloud Practitioner. That is a process that we've been able to get people trained and certified within 3 weeks. That's it. Plain and simple, it's clear. That certification is 100 US dollars. And yes, the AWS does not change that price no matter where you are in the world or what your economy looks like. And so part of our process is getting that part to be funded by our partners. And then you go on to something called solutions architect or AI solutions architect. And that is much more difficult, takes a bit more training, but we think we have AI agents and training and people who have experience in simulation, so you can get that done as well. And so as you go on, you'll get certifications in these types of areas. What do certifications mean and what do they stand for? Certifications mean that simple in the process, you know how to do more, but once you know how to do more, you also make a lot more money. And so in Botswana, we believe that from our analysis, we believe that we can help create incomes up to 400% more than what they currently are. Any more questions?
That is quite exciting. So we've had a concern, and our
Okay,
viewers
I know you're saying something, but the connection is breaking up on.
Can you hear me now? Is it better? Can you hear me now? I don't know what's happening.
It says I'm waiting for the host to rejoin.
That is interesting. Okay, I will text you here.
I can hear you in the background, but no voice yet.
I would just text as I see how to sort out my tech.
Okay, I can see that you says proceed to present. I have that. So it is continually to be important that we look at every sector. And the reason why we do it is we look at the banking industry, we look at the agricultural industry, we look at major enterprises, we look at telecommunications. Those are the industries and sectors in which we work with. Clearly, I think the building out of AI and the things that we do and how we work with our clients become very important. And part of what we're trying to create here, the best in class. And what I mean creating a hybrid asset and what that means. A hybrid asset is an individual who has more than one of these critical certifications. That means a person who is an expert in cybersecurity, person who has gained expertise through training in simulation, also about, cloud is the exact same way. So when you have one person who has all of those skills and all of those certifications, make for a very powerful person. We have a serious concern with brain drain. Do you solve that? Well, I think the key is that brain drain only happens when you don't have jobs. And I think having a job certainly solves that problem. I think people, from what I can tell, enjoy the places where they live. They enjoy their culture, they enjoy their families. But I think if you can create actual employment with decent incomes that allow decent livings, I think you do that. I think this particular digitalization of certain levels of economy certainly allows that to happen. And so you get to do these things on the actual continent in your individual country. In some places where you have the actual infrastructure, internet, power, you get to do this where you actually live. So I think that would go a long way of eliminating the drain brain issue throughout the continent.
I hope you can hear me now.
I can hear you now.
Awesome. So thank you, and that's much appreciated. It has been quite a concern. Our brain drain.
I heard you for a second, and then you went away. So why don't you type in another question?
Okay, can you hear me now?
And as you type in the other question, I don't know if all the questions come from you or that are represented. Marginalized communities. Yeah, marginalized communities are ones that happen throughout the African diaspora. It exists as an open wound no matter where you are in the world. So they're not germane to Africa or any region of Africa. We have these issues that also exist in the United States, if you watch the news at all. So to me, marginalized community, and this may sound weird to people, I don't care. If God doesn't care, I don't care. So we're able to work with people and communities, organizations on the ground. If you can work on the soft skills and the support that people need, we can train people, we can certify people. I can tell you some of the best, by far, candidates that we've ever had have been people who come from marginalized communities. We have the best people sometime in these positions to be trained are people who did not graduate from university. Now, there is a combination therein to basically say that where does this talent come from? I can tell you that the talent for technology is very eclectic. We want people from university. We want to not to avoid any talent that exists out there. How can local business owners, policymakers, NGOs, or even individual mentors partner with diamond mines to expand access and build digital ecosystems at a grassroots level? One of the first things that you can do is get people ready. That has to be clear. Uh, Evston Technology Partners is a business. The initiative Diamond Mines is a business. And having community partners and NGOs is essentially very important to this process because we can't do it without those things. We're dealing with human beings, we're dealing with people. And so I have a job, I have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to the clients, the stakeholders, the people who we train, and the people who work for us. I think the key is for the educational institutions, the NGOs, the governments, the businesses who want to find a way to be a part of this process, and I believe that they can be as part of this ecosystem, is to simply begin to get yourselves ready and no longer think of AI, especially generative AI, as the boogeyman. I can tell you this, and this is a very important feature. You cannot build things with AI without domain expertise and experience. Domain expertise, for instance, I'm in Chicago at the University of Chicago at the business school. And one of the presentations that were given for AI, and these people are already data scientists, so they went back to school to get a master's degree. And one young lady wanted to build an AI agent for hospitals. But I can clearly tell that she has never been in a hospital since the day she was born. So therefore, like I do, if I need data analysis, I have a data scientist on my team. If I have a cohort member who specializes in fashion, they specializes in fashions in the shape for African women, which are different than the rest of the world. I know that because I have seen mannequins throughout Southern African region that are anatomically correct towards African women, much different than it is in the United States. But he has built a AI model that measures Black women for clothing, African women for clothing. But I can help him with the AI portion. I cannot help him with the fashion portion. So I don't build those things out. I work with people like him to get those things completed and actually built out. My funding model becomes very interested. We don't use what we call donors. We use an investment model. And the investment model is a couple of things. One is for the entities that need these things built out. So the client would not only become just a client or a customer, they will also be an investor. So we're looking at sovereign wealth funds throughout the world to be an investor because it is of their best interest to make sure that the infrastructure and the things that are needed to get done. Now, this is considered what is called a low impact. Well, it's a high impact, but low investment platform. and that is that it doesn't take billions of dollars like you're building a dam or a railroad or a hospital, but the level of impact that is given and the level of return on investment is tremendous. So they're willing to go out and make this investment, and so we expect to, raise investment from private platforms, many organizations throughout Africa who support investment also. And so those are the things that we're willing to look at. And there will be some in-kind donation and more from companies like Evston Technology Partners.
See my other question?
I can see your questions, and also, let me see here. Let me move my cursor down some here. Okay. How are you budgeting the budgetary challenges of offering fully funded programs? We're not really having that problem yet. I mean, part of the process is the question is that people ask, how do you do this? Well, this is a new platform. This is a new opportunity. I mean, the opportunities that exist for this now, um, some of them are just 60 days old to give initiative of very large organizations with billions of dollars who wants to get these things done. And for instance, Saudi Arabia signed a $5 billion US deal with AWS. Well, that didn't exist 6 months ago. And so that need wasn't there 6 months ago. I don't see any particular challenges that we should have. Part of what we're looking to do in Botswana is to do, as you are mentioning, is to, people are the number one challenge. The number two challenge after that is going to be physical infrastructure. One of the things that we're going to need an investment in, which is more of a government issue and an infrastructure issue, is fiber optics. You need real high speed internet. My average internet back in the United States, not to brag, is around 500 gigabytes per second, megabits per second, and I can get up to 1 to 2 gigs in some particular areas. But we're on this call right now. That means that the internet is working some. Now, this was a very good question here, which is the last one here that I like a great deal. And this goes through a aspect of things, and I'll read the question off. How do you tailor training and mentorship to serve both urban tech hubs and rural under resource communities? What's your digital infrastructure model for hybrid or remote first learning? The learning environment by nature is a hybrid one, number one. And so, but for the most part, any type of training that's not in person, and in Botswana, the training will start in many sectors in person. There'll be an individual there working with people, but also you won't have an online environment that does not include a live person, except when you're in a simulated environment and those things that happen. We have a request, and we'll do, I think it's important because many corporations want to ask the question, do these people have any experience? And so our goal is to work with major corporations and people like AWS and others, to that once we finish this simulation and individuals prove that they can do the work through the simulation process, is that they will sign off to say that this individual is qualified to do this work. And that certifications alone does not do that. The certification simply does prove that you have some grasp of the information and that you're very good at taking a test. But the key is giving people an opportunity to work in a well-heeled simulated environment that's almost real, and that they are doing this type of work. And so the model is to work in urban hubs. Once again, the challenge will be in rural areas, because we deal with this in the United States as well, for people to have access to the basic technological infrastructure. And that's power, a computer device of some kind, and broadband access, and that's simply internet. And once again, that is for regional partnerships to be able to work with that to make sure that people have those things. If there are schools in that particular area that have these facilities and equipment already, we work with those schools. Next question. If a foundation philanthropist or wants to apply for the Diamond Mine Scholarship, what exactly should they do? Number one, Diamond Mines is not a scholarship of any kind. Um, it is simply for business. And so that is an important feature. It's not a school. It's not a mechanism that is set up just for training. That is not what this is. This is a mechanism that's set up for business. It is a mechanism that is set up to train people for that business and for them to operate and for them to work for a company, maybe more than one or two or three entities. It is also set up for them to be able to, you know, help themselves to help their particular families. But the whole process is through the process of actual assessment, evaluation, interviewing, and all of those things. So it is not a question of whether it is a scholarship, but the other part to it is, what does the selection process involve? Like I said, it involves the assessment, it involves the interview. The assessment process only takes 50 minutes. And if anyone ever get the opportunity to take this assessment process, it becomes one that's pretty simple. We've had people that do absolutely fantastic on this. So yesterday we had one individual who was in university. He did great. We had one individual who's never stepped foot in the university who did even better. So that should give you an indication about not Xing yourself out of this process and this and this opportunity. So in order to get people ready in what we think takes really pretty much be anywhere from 3 days to 1 week to get them approved for this process. Um, Let me see here. How long does it take? What should they prepare? And how can someone without strong tech experience still improve their chances for being selected? The key is that what we test for, what we evaluate for, is your proclivity towards doing so. 90% of the people who have ever been involved in this and what we've worked on throughout the world don't have any technology experience at all. But the process is to evaluate your ability on logic and your ability to be able to think. I think what it is going to be important is that you have reasonably high math skills. This is important, and it's important also to understand that this is a technology sector. If you don't do well, that means that it's just technology is not what you do, which is okay. It doesn't explain away all the rest of the wonderful intellect and talent that you have. It doesn't explain that away, not one bit. So if you decide to be a psychologist, you're a great psychologist. If you want to be a great chef or culinary artist, that's what you are. So it doesn't, or even an entrepreneur. So it doesn't take away your ability to do those particular things. We are assessing one particular sector of the entire world, and that's just technology in 27 different positions that we have. And those positions include, which a lot of people on the continent had not seen, is the IBM mainframe, which is a legacy system for usually highly regulated industries throughout the United States and Europe. And that is for banks and hospitals and governments. So mainframes are there and they are reliable, they are secure, but they're also extremely expensive. And so many people are moving from mainframe to cloud, and that's one of the things that we will offer services for. And so, when we began to look at those things, we look very carefully in what people can do. And, what this assessment does, it says who qualifies for what type of training. So if you qualify for mainframe, that's good. If you qualify for data science and AI and network engineering, software in, in engineering. So the one young lady who never went to university, she qualified for every single one of those positions that is on that assessment. So that should give you a view of how different things can be and how people can qualify differently.
So impressive, so impressive, and so proud of our African youth. But I think also I'd like to emphasize on I've had a lot of backlash on most of my programs ran from the age of 16 to 35. But this particular scholarship, as we talk about marginalized communities, ageism, and stuff like that, it doesn't matter you're 40, 50, 60, you can apply, right?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have to be an actual adult. In the world I'm from adulthood starts at 18 years old is what qualifies you to start working. 18 years old does not qualify you for just start training. I believe this training can start early enough. I have had the instance in Baltimore, Maryland, here in the United States. I'm training people all over the country. I fly into the cohort during COVID on the one in Baltimore, and I find out that a couple of people who were part of that program are 17 years old, and they became solutions architect certified at 17. A solutions architect in that region of the world makes 170,000 US dollars a year at 17 years old. So they were able to get trained before they were 18 and was able to get to start working after that.
Super impressive. Tell me, Mr. Jackson. So, we and our listeners, the questions we're getting from them, thank you very much. Keep asking. Let's learn together. Let's see how we can build the Africa we want. If we have a foundation, a philanthropist, a government agency that is listening right now and wants to support this mission, what do you need most from them? Is it partnership, policy change, platform access, capital? What do you want them to do?
Well, basically, it becomes all of that. So, what becomes what all this leads towards? Number one and foremost, one of the currencies from Botswana is a mother with her children learning, and that to me is the most powerful message giving as it relates to connecting economic development with education. It's on the currency. It is it is a standard. It is what people believe in. And so the policymakers, number one, can continue to their efforts on infrastructure. The need for high-speed internet is there. Teaching, you know, AI and cybersecurity things as early as primary school as part of your curriculum. And then I think, from a philanthropic standpoint and other things, is that, you know, certifications are expensive. And if they can help the people of these different countries throughout Africa to gain these certifications, that would be essential. I think there's also some philanthropic work to be done by these major corporations who wants to do business with these African countries to simply give, you know, free certifications, to give vouchers for these certifications. I think that becomes extremely important. I think they've done it in many parts of India before. The time is for them to do it for here as well. And I think they will be open to building those things as I have expressed it. A lot of people don't realize that AWS, Amazon Web Services, was partially created in Cape Town, South Africa. Nobody realizes that between Seattle and Cape Town. And that was the very important issue. But I think the key is to support these educational efforts, give access to proprietary content in which I've already started in Zimbabwe. I am going to probably tomorrow, this weekend, walk Ms. Kim through the process of becoming an AWS partner as well. What's one lesson you learned from building diamond mines that every aspiring change maker or social entrepreneur in Africa should know before they begin their journey? And that is to recognize the reason for your journey. Recognize the reason. And also recognize that, and say this comes from my Chicago upbringing and a guy by the name of Daniel Burnham, who is the first city planner of Chicago. And his saying was, it said, make no small plans. Make no small plans because they do nothing to stir the blood of men. Make big plans, and they will be everlasting and for our children, and they will still be being built after we are long gone. So, thinking big in a big world. And so if there's one entity of the world that gives you a $200 billion opportunity, and overall AI represents over a $30 trillion opportunity in the next 5 to 10 years. And so you cannot allow to play small. And secondly, with 1.5 billion people, Africa is way too big to play small. And then you have your brothers and sisters within the diaspora who is sharing the same issues, the same problems that you have, either from Brazil, the Caribbean, or the US. They're suffering from the same things. There are people who are asking, where are we going to get this funded? How we're going to do this? Who our partners are going to be? That is germane throughout the whole world. It's not just germane through actually Africa. And Africa is in an interesting situation where some strange things are not to be explained throughout Africa. It's geopolitical, it's nature. Africa, as the rest of the world, were being slaughtered by COVID. The damage to Africa was very limited. And the truth of the matter is that the way that DNA is set up, the diversity and immunity is dominant here than it is in any place in the entire world. So either throughout the diaspora or on the continent itself, what it basically says, there is everything that has been moved to destroy these people, and yet they are growing. They're not getting smaller. Africa has the highest infant mortality rate in the world, and yet you have the highest fertility rate in the world. You have countries like Italy, whose average age now is 50 years old. They're not having any children. Within the next 15 to 20 years, they will not even be able to man a military. The only way they're going to survive is that, heck, if we help them. But the truth of the matter is the European world, the US world, everybody is losing population and they're not having children. And in 20 to 30 years, 1 out of every human being on planet Earth will live on the continent of Africa, which is the gold rush. It is the largest market in the world that it will be. But the only way that we're going to be able to get there is that we take advantage of what's there. And once again, I think a lot of countries have made a tremendous effort in educating their population. We need to keep doing it. We need to gain partnerships with the very people who will need our help to build out their own opportunities. And that at the same time, we create opportunities for the continent itself. As we prepare to close this powerful conversation, we'd love to leave our listeners with something deeper, something beyond skills and opportunities. Emmanuel, what's one of your most powerful beliefs and mindsets that shift in thinking about young Africans just to embrace and join the global tech movement, but to lead the purpose, innovation, and confidence? As building on that, how important is self-belief compares to access to tools, funding? I think I can answer that question. And I think the answer becomes very important, is that I don't know how much young people here have been taught about colonialism and its impact on the continent today. I don't know what it knows about U.S. slavery, and that my name is Emmanuel Jackson, and none of your last names sounds like mine. And that I think African Americans, there are only 44 million of us in the U.S., but we are the lost tribe. But our cultural influence is everywhere. I'm in Cape Town. I went to breakfast this morning. Um, 100% from jazz to R&B was of African American artists that was playing on the sound system. As I tell you, is that everything leads towards you winning. I can guarantee you that. For those who have been through very hard times, some of you have been through wars and famines and other things, and then you have the very individual things that people go through life. What I tell kids in Chicago who from marginalized communities who have been through some of the toughest things, the mother and father had died of AIDS. The father may be in jail, drug addiction may be a part of their family. And I've heard these stories because I come from one of those stories. I come from the Cabrini Green Housing Project, which is notorious for being one of the most poor and dangerous housing projects in the entire world. In a sense, when I was a kid, the life expectancy for a black male in Cabrini Green was 34 years old. I never saw an old man when I lived in Cabrini Green. So as I got older, I can tell a young man or woman when I sat with him, and this is a lesson I will teach every single one of you, what it takes for you to be successful is a cakewalk compared to what you've gone through. I guarantee you that. That has never failed, and that has never turned into a lie. And that for people believing that you can basically do, there are things that are have been created throughout Africa. For instance, in the United States, we have payment systems called Zelle and PayPal and those type of things. You guys were doing all of that before it was ever done in the United States. And those are multi-billion-dollar businesses. If you use the internet right now, if you have a domain name, there's a company called Network Solutions, who were two black men. Emmett McHenry, I know him personally, created this platform. So, in the words of Tupac Shakur, we all be roses that grows through the cracks of the concrete, and the ability to be able to get things done, because we are indeed within the cradle of a civilization. Yes, despite of what people may say, and across America and other places, Egypt is part of Africa. So, and this is where we are. And, you have everything leans towards you being successful. Everything in the geopolitical structure, economic structure, technology structure of this world right now leads towards you being very successful. And you can determine what level of distractions that you're going to have. I assure you, you have less. You have less. And this will move forward to giving you into a position where you will win.
Wow. Yeah, I just hope our listeners out there, you're taking notes. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. You've shared your vision, your wisdom, and this is a time for us all to rise to the occasion. You're building a movement that's giving African, not just youth, it's literally everyone, confidence, tools, opportunities to step into the global tech space. We shouldn't just be followers, but as leaders, we shouldn't be waiting for anyone to create for us. We have this opportunity. We're starting with 10,000. We've shared the link widely. We'll start with sign up. Send us your email. So we send you the link that you can do the 45 bespoke 50 minutes. Be very patient as you sign up. It's appalling how many people have failed so far. And that's all it takes. As you've had Mr. Jackson explain, it's not rocket science. So let's not just have this as a tech conversation. Let's see the possibilities. Let's see the opportunities. Let's see, like you hear, the gold rush is there. And obviously, this pace of tech with the disruption of AI, Africa should be able to lead this. So take the first step, apply, ask questions, believe in your potential, because the future does not belong to the biggest, it belongs to the boldest. We'll see you at the top. Keep building, keep believing. Mr. Jackson, would you like to give us your closing remarks?
Believe in yourself and believe in the things that you say that you believe in. I don't particularly, if it is God and Jesus, if you believe in that, if you believe in Allah, same thing there. If you believe in Buddhists, if you don't believe in any other spiritual thing, believe in yourself. Because all of those things are important. And one thing that you're going to have to do, you're going to have to believe and you're going to have faith. And so whatever that faith is, and I respect them all. Mine is with Jesus, but trust me, Jesus teaches me to respect everyone. And that becomes very important. But believe in yourself, continue to uplift your families and your communities. And so I say that, and you guys have a wonderful rest of the week. I guess today is Friday, so this is the weekend. I didn't realize that. I don't even know which day it is now. I head back to the U.S. on Sunday night, but it's been a pleasure being on the continent. It was my first time, and God willing, I will be back. Thank you all very much, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson, and you are most welcome. We look forward to learning a lot, working together, and we have your email address here, which we're going to share with a link for you to apply. It will be on all our social media platforms from LinkedIn to Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Join us. Let's build the Africa we want. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.